My mother asked who I wanted to marry. This time, I didn't choose Simon Hughes. Instead, I chose his younger uncle, Daniel Hughes. Her reaction was immediate, her gaze sharp and full of disbelief, as if I had just slapped her. After all, everyone in town knew that Simon and I were inseparable, practically tied together since childhood. For 10 years, I chased him, made it clear I wouldn't marry anyone else. But that was the old me, the version of myself that no longer existed. A bitter smile formed on my lips as the memories of my past life before being reborn flooded my mind. In that life, after Simon and I got married, I came to a painful realization. He had never touched me. At first, I told myself it was something personal, that maybe it was something he couldn't help. I excused it and tried to convince myself it didn't matter. But then, on our golden wedding anniversary, I entered a room I had never seen before. It was locked, hidden, and filled with photos of my cousin. That's when it all clicked. It wasn't that Simon was asexual. He simply didn't love me. And now, in this second life, I was tired of wasting time on someone who would never love me back. I decided to let them be together once and for all. But as I walked down the aisle toward Daniel, Simon's face went pale, and he completely lost control. 3 days after my official engagement to Simon Hughes, I saw him at a party. As expected, his friends saw me and, of course, couldn't resist. They were already laughing, clearly having fun at my expense. "Simon, look who it is. Your little follower is here again," one of them shouted with a grin. "Bianca, you're already engaged to Simon and still clinging to him? Shouldn't you let the poor guy enjoy his party before locking him down?" Another chimed in. When Simon saw me, the irritation was practically written all over his face. "Bianca," he spat, "are you really that desperate to marry me? You didn't even bother asking my permission before sealing this engagement, and now the whole damn town is talking about it. The nerve you have." His disgust hit me like a punch to the gut. I had to take a deep breath and steady myself before replying. "I didn't need your approval. I'm not marrying you." The room burst into laughter. Simon's friends were practically bent over, laughing so hard. Of course, they couldn't resist continuing to mock me. "Simon," one of them yelled, "watch out. Your fiancé is about to pull another move to get your attention." Simon simply shook his head, looking increasingly annoyed. "Bianca, now you're playing hard to get?" I couldn't help but smile. "With the Hughes family? If I don't marry you, who else will I marry?" He leaned closer, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Let's not forget you've been saying since we were kids that you'd marry me. The whole town already thinks you're mine." Then he whispered, "I'll let this engagement slide, but don't forget. Yes, I can give you a grand wedding, but the marriage license, that's only for the person I truly want to marry." I froze. In my past life, this was exactly when Simon went through with his family's plans, and we registered our marriage. Could it be that he had also been reborn? Before I could process what was happening, my cousin Audrey appeared at the party. The moment she saw me standing next to Simon, her face twisted with anguish, and tears started streaming from her eyes. "Bianca, Simon, I heard you're getting married soon. I didn't bring a gift, but I wish you all the happiness in the world," she stammered, her voice cracking with every word. Before she could finish, Audrey turned around and ran out, sobbing as she fled. "Look what you've done, Bianca," Simon muttered, shooting me a furious glare before running after her without another word. When they returned, their fingers were intertwined, clenched tightly. Audrey's lips were swollen and red, and Simon had a hickey on his neck. The whole room was watching, waiting to see what I would do. In my previous life, if I saw another woman getting too close to Simon, I would cause a scene to make sure everyone knew he was still mine. Simon stepped forward, placing Audrey behind him like a shield, his face holding a strange, expectant expression, but I didn't give him the reaction he was clearly waiting for. Minutes passed, and his arrogant little smile began to fade. Then he mocked. "Well, look at that. At least you've grown up a bit. You don't scream or throw fits like before." I didn't even bother to respond. When the party ended and everyone began heading toward the door, Simon stopped me. "It's late, and it's not safe. I'll give you a ride," he said. Since the ride was free, and I wasn't about to walk home, I didn't argue. I went for the back seat, but Simon was faster. He blocked the front seat. "You sit in the back." With that, he gently helped Audrey into the front seat, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "Sorry, Bianca," Audrey said with fake concern. "Simon's just being protective. He's afraid I'll get carsick." I said nothing. I simply slid into the back seat, exactly where I'd planned to sit from the beginning. The entire ride home was just Simon and Audrey talking and laughing like they were the only two people on Earth. At a red light, Audrey joked with Simon, asking him to help her with a lip balm. They exchanged a look, and I swear the tension in the air suddenly thickened. Simon turned his head toward the rearview mirror, as if he'd just remembered I was in the car. When his eyes met mine, I deliberately looked out the window, trying to ignore them. His expression faded for a moment. For a moment, I saw regret cross his face. Then, before I could even process it, he slammed on the gas. When we arrived at my house, Simon did something I truly didn't expect. He grabbed my arm again. "Drop the act," he said, his tone sharp. "Don't pretend you don't care. It's beneath you." With that, he threw a bracelet at me. "This is your engagement gift from me," he added, his voice dripping with condescension. "If you stay in line, I'll at least give you a voice on paper. Everyone will think you're my wife." I stared at him. "And who exactly do you plan to marry then?" I asked. "Audrey." Simon's face twisted with rage, but beneath it there was something almost smug, as if he was enjoying the chaos he was creating. "I knew it," he sneered. "You've been pretending this whole time. Listen closely. Don't you dare say a word about this to anyone in either of our families. My relationship with Audrey is none of your business. She's kind and fragile. Nothing like your little schemes." His voice dropped, almost like a warning. "If you ever hurt her, don't think for a second I'll go through with this wedding." I couldn't help but laugh. He was too much of a coward to be honest with the Hughes family, but somehow I was the villain in all of this. I didn't say another word. I simply turned and walked into my apartment, the weight of everything pressing down on me. The moment I closed the door behind me, my phone vibrated. It was a video from Audrey. I hesitated before opening it, but when I did, there they were. Simon gently helping Audrey fasten a necklace around her neck. The brand was unmistakable. And then I realized it. The bracelet Simon had just thrown at me was the matching piece to that same necklace. They were so close, their necks almost touching. And then, as the camera zoomed in, they kissed. The sound broke the silence like a slap to the chest, sharp, intrusive. "Bianca, Simon must have already told you, right?" Audrey's voice said. "After the wedding, he's going to marry me legally. Just so you know, without a legal marriage, there's no right to inheritance. I guess it's finally my turn to be the richest woman in Evergrande City." Audrey. She had been reborn too. Everything made sense. Even though Simon and Audrey had no connection in our past life, this time, just days after being reborn, they were already acting like lovers, doing everything a couple would do. It was like they had some unspoken understanding, like they were trying to pick up exactly where they left off. I lowered my gaze. Memories from my previous life flooded back in. I thought about when I first married someone from the Hughes family. Right after the wedding, everything seemed to change. The company began receiving an avalanche of partnership offers, securing contracts left and right. The assets of Hughes Enterprises skyrocketed, and before long, they became the wealthiest company in Los Angeles. The patriarch of the Hughes family was convinced that I was the one bringing Simon good luck. Strangely enough, the family started to appreciate me more and more. They treated me like one of their own, like I truly belonged there. Despite Simon's cold indifference, I honestly thought I was happy. That was until I found the photos. One afternoon, my mother walked into my room with news. "Daniel, Simon's younger uncle, is returning from Europe in 5 days." I froze, caught off guard. Daniel had never married in my previous life, and I certainly didn't expect our arranged marriage to move forward so quickly. I vaguely remembered Daniel. One thing was clear, though. He had always been a good guy, almost like an older brother to me. Marrying him now gave me more peace than marrying anyone else ever could. I wasn't sure why, but the idea of him felt right. The next morning, I got up early and went straight to work in my studio, designing my wedding dress. I'd been sketching my dream wedding dress since university, back when I studied fashion design. But all the designs I came up with back then had to fit Simon's tastes. He never let me use any design elements I truly liked. Everything had to be for him. But now, everything was different. For the first time, the dress would be mine. Not Simon's. Not Audrey's. Not for that rotten city that had always watched me like I was a character in a telenovela with a pre-written ending. I was finally designing something that reflected who I was, not what others expected of me. And with every stitch taking form on the white silk, I felt my heart reconnecting with something I had buried years ago, my will to live for myself. No matter how much I tried to focus on the design, my mind kept going back to that damned bracelet. I left it on the table, without even opening it. The fake shine of that piece of jewelry insulted me. It was as if Simon had branded me like an object. If you behave, I'll give you a voice on paper. Who did he think he was? My owner? And Audrey? What kind of woman sends a video like that to someone, as if it were a joke? The truth is, she knew too. She had known from the start. The fake tears at the party, the calculated glances, the necklace, the video, it was all planned. She wasn't fragile. She was a strategist. Cold. Manipulative. They were playing dirty. They didn't just want to be together. They wanted to destroy me in the process. They wanted me to feel small, disposable, insignificant. But not this time. Not anymore. I spent the following days in silence. I ignored my mother's messages, the invitations to family dinners, the subtle jabs from people around me. I wasn't raised to confront, but I had been reborn to resist. And then he arrived. Daniel. The moment he stepped through my parents' front door, the entire atmosphere shifted. He looked older, of course, but still had that calm, steady gaze I remembered. The way he smiled at me, it wasn't the smile of someone expecting a submissive wife. It was genuine, curious, like he truly wanted to know who I was. So, you're really going to marry me? He asked with a soft smile. I took a deep breath. If you want to. But you need to know something. I'm not the same person I used to be. He smiled with a hint of mischief. Perfect. Because I'm not either. In the following days, Daniel treated me with a kind of respect I didn't know existed. He listened to me, asked questions, said he loved my sketches, even if he didn't understand a thing about fashion. Unlike Simon, who always said, I don't like that, Daniel would ask, does this represent you? For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. But of course, peace never lasts long. One Friday, the Hughes family hosted a dinner to celebrate Daniel's return. And as expected, Simon and Audrey were there. He with his smug aura, and she wearing the damn necklace, the matching piece to the bracelet Simon had given me. It was pure provocation. Obvious. And it worked. I was burning inside. During dinner, Audrey laughed loudly, touched Simon constantly, called him love so everyone could hear. Simon kept glancing at me, clearly hoping I'd snap in front of everyone. But I didn't. I smiled. I toasted. I kept Daniel's hand firmly in mine. Are you okay? He whispered, sensing my tension. Not yet, I replied, staring directly at Simon. But I will be. After dessert, my mother, ever lacking in tact, commented, It's funny how everything worked out, isn't it? Bianca with Daniel and Simon with Audrey, it's like fate. Daniel squeezed my hand. I kept my smile, but inside, I was swallowing fire. Then Audrey raised her glass and said, with poison sweetness, to strong women who know when to step aside so true love can flourish. Simon looked straight at me, like daring me to react. But I didn't give him that pleasure. When dinner ended and we headed to the parking lot, Daniel went to get the car. Simon approached me. This is all a pathetic act, Bianca, he murmured, leaning against a passenger door. You're the pathetic one, I replied bluntly, using me as a facade and still pretending to be the victim. He stepped closer. You still love me. You're not even worthy of my hatred, let alone my love. He laughed, but there was fury in his eyes. Do you really think Daniel is going to protect you? He's just a pawn in this game. Isn't it strange how fast everything's moved? This family needs you. And now that they know you bring luck. So that's what this is? I cut him off. Not love, not desire, superstition? You want to keep me around as a lucky charm? I'll marry Audrey legally. But no one will stop seeing you as my wife. Do you really think Daniel will resist the power of the Hughes name for long? I resisted. I snapped back. And now, if I have to destroy that name, I will. He fell silent, then smirked with disdain. Good luck with that. The next morning, I was awakened by a notification. Someone had leaked an article to the local press. It painted me as a social climber. Said my engagement to Daniel was fake, that I was manipulating his family just to rise in status. There were photos, some real, others badly edited. Audrey. Of course. But I didn't cry. I didn't call my mother. I didn't delete my social media. I just called someone I hadn't spoken to in years, Marcelo, a journalist who owed my father a favor. I'm going to send you some material, I said. I want you to publish it under your name. Are you sure? He asked. It's heavy. Absolutely sure. And publish everything, including the video. I sent him everything. The necklace video, the voice notes, Audrey's message saying she'd marry Simon after the fake ceremony, the contract I found among the company's documents, proving they planned to use me to secure the inheritance, and then discard me. 2 days later, the bomb dropped. Every news outlet picked it up. Scandal in the Hughes family, fake marriage and million-dollar inheritance scheme. The whole city was on fire. Company stocks plummeted. Contracts were canceled. And the Hughes patriarch, the same one who always believed I brought good fortune, came down from his pedestal, screaming. Simon was disowned. Audrey disappeared. She shut down her accounts, canceled the engagement, and was last seen leaving the city with 2 suitcases. That night, Daniel called me. Was it you? Yes. Thank you. Do you still want to marry me? He laughed. Now more than ever. And me. That night, I slept in peace. For the first time in many, many lives. But peace never lasts. The next morning, a loud knock woke me. It wasn't the nervous tap of a delivery person or the quick ring of a neighbor. It was firm, repetitive, almost threatening. I looked at the clock. 7:42 a.m. I threw on a robe quickly and walked to the door, heart racing. When I opened it, there was my mother. Her face red, eyes intense, lips pressed tight. What did you do? Her voice was sharp, like a blade. She didn't come in. She just stood there, as if facing a criminal. What I had to do, I answered calmly. I exposed them. Simon and Audrey were lying to everyone, using the family, using my name, using me. Someone had to speak up. She laughed. Not kindly, mockingly. Do you know what you've done? You ruined the reputation of the entire Hughes family. The company lost investors. Your father was summoned to explain things he had nothing to do with. I got confronted in the grocery store. And that matters more to you than the fact that I was humiliated for years? Bianca, you were always treated like a queen. You had everything. And now, just out of spite, you throw it all away. Everything? What is that everything? Being Simon's shadow? Being used and ridiculed in public? Being treated like a lucky charm? Was that everything? She hesitated, just for a second, but it was enough to see the truth in her face. She knew. She had always known. She knew Simon didn't love me. She knew he used me. And she chose silence. She chose comfort. The Hughes are the most powerful family in Los Angeles, Bianca. You should have endured it. What you did was foolish. And you'll pay for it. I shut the door in her face without another word. From that moment on, I knew I was completely alone. Not even my own mother was on my side. The days that followed were a war. I received anonymous messages, calls from unknown numbers. Online, they claimed I had manipulated Daniel, that the whole engagement was a scheme to grab the inheritance. They even said I had faked the videos.
Daniel supported me.
He stayed by my side.
Steady.
More than I had expected. They're desperate, he said to me. When the powerful lose control, all they know how to do is attack. What I didn't expect was for Audrey to come back. 2 weeks after the scandal, she showed up at my building. Dressed in black, sunglasses on, but everyone recognized her. She made a scene at the entrance, shouted my name, demanded that I come down. Against my instincts, I went down. I wanted to look her in the eyes. When we faced each other, she took off her glasses. Her face was full of hatred and fear. "You think you won?" she hissed through her teeth. "You only made everything worse. The patriarch is sick, the company is collapsing, and now Daniel is the new favorite. He deserves it. You too don't. You don't understand anything, Bianca. Nothing. Simon and I were reborn too. This time, we just wanted to avoid the mistakes of the past. And that's why you lied, manipulated, and betrayed?" She pressed her lips together. "Simon has been mine since the first life. We were supposed to be together. But you always show up. You always pull him away. He was never yours. Or mine. Simon only belongs to himself." She stepped closer, her eyes burning with fury. "Do you really think Daniel will protect you forever? Do you think this story will end well for you? He's a Hughes. And all Hughes, sooner or later, choose their side." And she left, without saying another word. But she left me uneasy. In the following days, Daniel changed. He became more distant, more tense. Endless meetings, calls, sudden trips. He said everything was fine, that he loved me,
That he was still with me.
but his eyes were tired, heavy. One night, he came home late, very late. He walked in silently, dropped his coat on the couch, and went straight to the bathroom. As he moved, a paper fell out of his pocket. A contract. I picked it up. It was a business merger agreement. A prenuptial contract.
Signed.
Without my name. Daniel came out of the bathroom and found me holding the paper. "What is this?" He froze. "It's just a draft. It's not official yet. Just something the family lawyers prepared." "And why don't I have any rights in case of separation? Why doesn't my name even appear?" "Because they still don't trust you," he said, painfully. "Still." "Bianca." "So, Audrey was right," I said, my throat tight. "They always choose their own. I haven't chosen anything. I'm stuck in the middle." I stood up. "And me? Am I not stuck too? But I don't have a powerful last name to protect me. All I have is myself. And I'm tired of waiting for someone to save me." He tried to reach for me, but I stepped back. I won't be a bargaining chip again. I'm not the Bianca from before. I'm the woman who tore Simon and Audrey down with the truth. And if you take their side, you'll fall with them. He froze. Speechless. I grabbed my bag, walked out, and slept elsewhere. For the first time since all of this began, I was alone, but not defeated. The next day, I publicly announced the launch of my own fashion brand. I used the scandal to my advantage. I told my story, showed my sketches, my process, everything I had lived. Social media exploded. I received support from women all over the country. They told me they too had been silenced, used, discarded. Within weeks, my brand had a waiting list. And then a letter arrived.
From the Hughes legal team.
They were suing me for misuse of private information for commercial gain. I smiled, because that was the proof that, even with all their power, they were still afraid of me. And this time, they have no idea what I'm capable of. At first, I believed all I needed was love. That if I found someone who truly saw me, who said the right words, who stood by my side against the world, everything would work out. But I was wrong. Love isn't enough when everything around you is rotten. When even the sweet words come wrapped in hidden contracts and promises, as fragile as glass. Daniel, he was good. Or, at least, he wanted to be. You could see it in his eyes. He wasn't like Simon, who smiled with that air of superiority, that arrogance of someone who'd always been treated like a prince. Daniel listened. He hesitated before interrupting. He walked slowly, as if he respected the ground beneath him. That's why it hurt so much to discover that, even being different, he was still bound by the same family chains. He didn't cheat on me with stolen kisses. He didn't conspire against me. But he allowed it. He allowed his family to exclude me on paper, to reduce me to a shadow with no rights. And worst of all, he tried to convince me it wasn't a big deal, that it was just a draft. But drafts reveal intentions. And I am not a draft. When I left Daniel that night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't break anything. I just felt a final part of me fall to the ground, and I didn't bother to pick it up. Because the Bianca who waited to be rescued, who endured humiliation for the sake of love, who stayed silent to keep the peace, she no longer existed. She died with that former life. What remained was a woman who finally understood that the only future worth having was the one she built for herself. And that's exactly what I did. My fashion brand grew faster than I ever imagined. At first, they said it was pity, that it was just media hype, that it would fade in weeks. But my designs spoke for themselves. Every stitch had a story. Every garment was a declaration of independence. I didn't make clothes to please heirs. I designed for women who wanted to look in the mirror and recognize their own power. My social media exploded. Influencers started wearing my designs without me even asking. The press, who once called me the bitter ex, now introduced me as the new fashion force of Los Angeles. I received invitations to shows, interviews, collaborations, even from people who used to laugh at me. I accepted some, rejected many, and I never forgot their names. The most ironic part? The Hughes family sued me, claimed I had used private information for personal gain, filed a ridiculous lawsuit, probably drafted by a bitter lawyer with a thirst for revenge. But I wasn't that naive girl anymore. I had evidence, witnesses, recordings, documents, everything. The trial turned against them. The press didn't let up. The company, already staggering from the scandal, began to crumble completely. Investors withdrew, executives resigned, and the Hughes name, once a symbol of power, became synonymous with lies, manipulation, and decay. Simon vanished. They say he moved to Europe, trying to start over. But I know he's hiding. Audrey still tries to show up now and then, with that victim face of hers. But no one believes her anymore. Time did its job. Everyone saw her for who she really is. Cold, calculating, poisonous. And Daniel? Daniel never reached out after that final conversation. I like to think he understood. That he respected me enough not to try to fix what he himself allowed to break. And honestly, I don't hate him.
He tried.
He wanted to love, wanted to be different, wanted to break free from his last name. But at some point, the weight of his blood was stronger than the sound of his conscience. And I moved on. Not out of revenge. Not out of pride. I moved on because I understood no one was going to build my freedom for me. Today, I give lectures. I tell my story, not as a broken woman, but as a woman who survived her own naivety. I talk about relationships disguised as destiny, about manipulation wrapped in gifts, about contracts that try to reduce us to a number in someone's inheritance, and about how to rise after all of it. My brand is now international. I open stores in 3 countries. I hire women who were discarded, ignored, humiliated. And not a single piece that leaves my studio is designed to please a last name. They're designed to empower. And if you ask me whether I still believe in love, I smile. Because now I know, no contract, no ring, no surname is worth more than the freedom of never again submitting to someone who doesn't see me as whole. Reborn or not, this life is mine. And no one will ever take it from me again. After winning $100 million in the lottery, I quit my job and went back home. As soon as I reached the door, I heard my brother's wife, Zoe Cook, saying, "Mom, I want to buy a mansion. Tell Kathy Jones to pay the down payment." My mom replied, "She just finished paying off the mortgage on this house last week. She probably doesn't have any money." Zoe scoffed, "Did you forget? Jim likes her. Make Kathy marry him and then ask for $1 million to cover the down payment." My dad added, "That's a good idea. Then the mansion will be my grandson's wedding house." Zoe commented, "By the way, Mom, Dad, when Kathy gets back, tell her to move out." My brother will be moving into her room. It was the first time I overheard this kind of conversation. I never expected them to be so ungrateful. I lifted my head, holding back tears. I felt so bitter. The draft in the hallway made me shiver. I stood outside the door for a long time before taking a deep breath and opening it. I've told you many times to be more careful when coming in. My son is sleeping. Don't forget again, okay? Zoe looked at me with disdain and then turned to my parents, winking at them. My dad coldly asked, "Why did you come home so early today? Didn't you say you'd be working overtime?" "I was fired," I said flatly, and everyone was stunned. My brother, David Jones, was the first to react. "What? Why did they fire you? Was it because you upset Jim Wood by rejecting him?" Jim Wood was my direct supervisor. He was petty, strict, and lecherous during the years I worked for him. The pressure was so intense that I often suffered from insomnia and hair loss. Whenever I couldn't help but complain to my family, they always scolded me, saying I was overreacting. Eventually, I stopped telling them anything. I didn't want to talk to them anymore, so I turned and headed to my room. But my mom stopped me as soon as she heard I was unemployed. Her expression changed instantly, and she said directly, "Pack your things and move out tomorrow. Zoe's brother will be living here. Why should I give up my room for him? I bought this house. I'm not leaving." My father got furious.
What do you mean by that?
"You have to move out." Zoe seized the moment and added, "Exactly. Just because you paid for the house, you think you own it? You're going to get married sooner or later and leave the house. I'm warning you. Don't even think about it." David grabbed my suitcase from the room and shoved it toward me. "It's already decided. We're just informing you. Stop talking nonsense and get out." My parents had always looked down on me since I was born, while David used to be kind to me. But ever since he got married, he completely changed and did everything Zoe told him to do. Zoe had always been cold toward me and took her frustrations out on me when in a bad mood. My parents and David always turned a blind eye, and no one ever stood up for me. I thought we were family, and that if I was good enough to them, they would eventually change. I worked hard to earn money and buy this big house, but in the end, I became the most dispensable person. This house is mine. I'm not moving out. After saying that, I dragged my suitcase back into my room. I unpacked the clothes and hung them back in the closet one by one. Zoe sneered. "Mom, Dad, see? Your daughter has grown so bold that she doesn't care about anyone." My father, enraged, tried to slap me, but I grabbed his arm and he couldn't move.
Dad, don't get mad.
"Just tell me what I said wrong." Zoe yelled, "You're completely wrong. This is the Jones house. You should obey your parents." My mom tried to calm my dad and softly complained, "Kathy, I don't want to blame you, but we're only asking you to move out for a few days. Why are you making such a big fuss?" "A few days? Mom, don't think I don't know. Zoe just got her brother a new job, so he plans to stay for a long time. This is my house. Why should I give it up to strangers?" "Strangers? How can Zoe's brother be a stranger? Since I married David, her brother is your family too. You should treat him like your own brother." Zoe gestured dramatically while speaking. "Treat him like my brother? Ridiculous." It was one thing for my parents, David, and Zoe to take advantage of my money, but why should I spend money on Zoe's lazy brother? They truly thought I was a fool. "Zoe, you're really shameless. My parents won't give me the key to that small house I bought before. Isn't it true that your parents are living there? So what?" Zoe replied arrogantly. My parents and brother just watched without any intention of stopping her. I looked at each of them. "So, you're all determined to kick me out, huh?" Zoe, gritting her teeth, said, "Yes. You're not giving those 2 houses back to me, are you?" My father glared at me angrily. "Nonsense. Don't even think about those houses. They don't belong to you, and it's not your decision. We'll see." I felt hopeless and suddenly didn't want to stay another minute. I didn't want to waste any more time arguing with them. This was a small issue that could be solved with a lawyer. I took nothing with me and left the house. That suitcase had been thrown out by David, and those old clothes had been handed down by Zoe because she didn't want them. I didn't want them either. I checked into the best 5-star hotel in town and consulted the best lawyer. I had paid the down payment and the mortgage on the houses. The lawyer said it wouldn't be hard to get them back. After hanging up the phone, I felt depressed and angry. I wanted to cry, but couldn't. My parents always favored David because he was a man. If it weren't for my grandparents paying for my education, I wouldn't have even finished high school. After getting into university, I worked up to 4 jobs at once, sometimes so exhausted I'd fall asleep standing. After graduating, I got a full-time day job and a part-time job at a fast food restaurant at night. I worked hard for years, saved every penny, and finally got my parents and David out of my grandparents' old house. I thought buying 2 houses would make life easier. But unexpectedly, I was kicked out overnight just because I lost my job. They completely turned their backs on me. How ridiculous. Family love could disappear in an instant, but at least I was lucky in another way. I looked at my bank account balance and couldn't help but smile. I still had money. $100 million. An amount I couldn't spend in 10 lifetimes. I bought a seaside mansion in a luxury area. Now, I woke up whenever I wanted, did yoga, and watched TV. Life was incredibly comfortable. There was a homeowners group in the mansion community. After joining, everyone warmly welcomed me. They were all wealthy women who talked daily about makeup, clothes, and similar topics. I never used to care about those things, but now my mindset had changed. With money in the bank, I told myself I should indulge and enjoy life. So, I joined their conversations enthusiastically. In a few days, I became friends with them, and we often went out for coffee or shopping together. One day, I was in a luxury store with my new friends when suddenly, my father called me, furious. "You are such a bitch. You sued us. The court summons have arrived, and the neighbors are mocking us. Ungrateful. If I had known you'd turn out like this, I should have strangled you when you were born." My mother grabbed the phone and started crying hysterically. "We only had a few arguments. Why do you have to make such a big scene now? We're so humiliated in the community. They almost believe we treated you badly." I couldn't help but let out a sarcastic laugh. Wasn't it true? They never treated me well, and now they even kicked me out of my own house. Since I was a child, I always had endless chores waiting for me as soon as I got home. But I never minded because we were family. However, after David got married, and especially when they had a baby, I had even more to do and became more exhausted. No matter how kind I was to them, my parents and Zoe were never satisfied. They truly treated me like a free maid. My friends used to joke that I must have owed them a debt from a past life because I worked like a slave to pay it off. I could only bitterly smile. "Kathy, we gave you life and raised you. That's a huge favor. What more do you want?" "I want nothing but justice." After saying that, I hung up the phone. My friends and I continued enjoying our shopping. Just as we were about to leave the mall, I saw Zoe walking toward me, chatting and laughing with a middle-aged man. They looked like a loving couple. When Zoe spotted me, she panicked and quickly distanced herself from the man. "Kathy, are you spying on me? I didn't think you were that kind of person. Why don't you go find a job instead of following me?" Seeing the guilty look on her face, I wasn't angry. I just laughed. "I'm in no rush to find a job, and I have zero interest in following you. Who do you think you are?" At that moment, my friend Mary Lee couldn't hold back. "Who is this woman, Kathy?" Mary asked. "She's my brother's wife," I replied. Mary immediately recognized the man. "Ben Cox, you're meeting with a married woman. Aren't you afraid your wife will find out?" Zoe rolled her eyes and lied. "I'm not her brother's wife. She's talking nonsense. I'm just one of Ben's employees. Our relationship isn't what you think. Don't misunderstand." Ben frantically waved his hands, desperately trying to distance himself from the situation. Zoe then threatened me. "Kathy, I'm warning you. If you tell David, I'll rip your tongue out." Right then, David appeared. He had come shopping with his boss and, upon seeing us arguing from afar, rushed over. "Kathy, I'm warning you. Don't upset Zoe. She's pregnant with our second child. If it's a boy, it'll be a great contribution to our family." Our family, I thought. Since the day they kicked me out, I no longer had anything to do with them. David's expression instantly darkened. "This isn't something you can decide. You're so stupid. Even if you win the lawsuit against our parents, you'll still have to pay alimony. Either way, the two houses are ours, so alimony means nothing to us." At the mention of the houses, Zoe lost control. "Those two houses are ours. Don't think you're going to keep them." Zoe had always been irrational. I worked hard to buy those houses, and now I was simply reclaiming what was mine. I hired a lawyer, and I'll be getting those houses back soon. You two should go home and start packing. Think carefully about where you'll live next. Zoe was so furious that her face turned red. She turned and slapped David. "Are you going to let Kathy humiliate me like this? What's wrong with you?" David then tried to attack me, but my friends immediately surrounded him and stopped him. Vand, another one of my friends, looked at Zoe with disgust and said, "Why don't you take your husband and leave? You can't afford to pick a fight with women like us. We all live in the mansion community." Zoe stared at me in shock. "How did you end up with them? Are you working as their maid?" Mary glared at her and replied disdainfully, "A maid? Kathy is our neighbor. You rented a mansion. Where did you get the money for that? Did you secretly marry Jim, and he gave you monies?" Zoe asked incredulously. Mary laughed sarcastically. "Kathy didn't rent her mansion. She bought it outright." David and Zoe were stunned. "What?" When David and Zoe were left speechless upon learning that I had bought the mansion outright, an indescribable satisfaction surged through my veins. But it still wasn't enough. They deserved more than shock. They deserved to feel the weight of the contempt I had carried for years. With a smile that blended disdain and superiority, I turned to my friends and said, "Let's get out of here, ladies. I've wasted enough time on people who aren't worth it." As we started walking away, I heard David's voice tremble with rage. "Kathy, do you really think you're going to get away with this? You have nothing. Those houses are ours, and I swear to God you'll end up alone, begging on the streets, just like you always should have been. Pretend all you want that you're in a better position now, but you're not. You've always been dead weight." I stopped in my tracks and looked at him from a distance, a mix of pity and disdain in my eyes. "David, do you seriously think you're going to come out of this looking like the victim? You're married to a woman who lies, cheats, and manipulates, and you delude yourself into thinking you're better than me? Zoe treats you like a puppet, and we all know it. You know what's funny? Even with all the support from our parents, even being the golden child, you've never built anything on your own. I bought those houses. I paid for the comfortable life you all live, and now that the ground is shaking beneath you, all you can do is threaten me. How pathetic." David was speechless, but Zoe, furious, lunged toward me, her face twisted in rage. "You think you're better than us, don't you? Just because you got lucky and won the lottery? You're a loser, Kathy. You always have been, and you always will be. Nothing will change the fact that you're just a bitter, lonely spinster with no one." I took a deep breath, and for a moment, I considered letting her keep spewing her insults. But then I realized I had endured enough my entire life. I stepped close enough for Zoe to see the firmness in my eyes and, with a steady voice full of disdain, I responded, "I might be single, Zoe, but at least I'm free. Free from an unhappy marriage with a man who treats me like garbage and from a family that never valued me. Now look at you, stuck in a life built on lies, manipulation, and betrayal. You think you're in control, but the truth is you're just a prisoner of your own actions. Keep making threats. Keep lying to yourself. In the end, it's you who will end up alone." Before Zoe could reply, one of my friends, Mary, stepped in and placed a hand on my shoulder. "Kathy, don't waste your time on people like them. Let's go." As we walked away, I heard Zoe explode with rage. "You'll regret this, Kathy. I swear I'll destroy you." I didn't look back. Instead, I turned to Mary and smiled. What a pathetic performance. That night, when I got home, I opened a bottle of wine and allowed myself to relax on the balcony of my new mansion. The sea breeze brushed against my face, and for the first time in a long while, I truly felt at peace. Yet, something inside me was still unsettled. I knew the legal battle would be resolved, and I would reclaim the houses, but that wasn't enough anymore. They needed to learn, in the harshest way possible, that I was no longer the naive girl they could control. The next morning, I called my lawyer and asked him to expedite the lawsuits against my parents and my brother. Within days, court summons were delivered to their doorstep, and soon I saw them squirm under the weight of justice. But this was just the beginning. I hired private investigators to track every move Zoe and David made. I knew Zoe had more to hide than just that meeting with Ben Cox, and I wanted every possible piece of evidence. It didn't take long for the results to come in. Zoe wasn't only cheating on David with Ben, but also with another man. Even worse, she had been siphoning money from their joint account to fund her personal luxuries. Once I had all the evidence in hand, I knew it was time to use it. I arranged a reconciliation dinner with my family, sending formal invitations for them to meet me at an upscale restaurant. I knew they would come. Curiosity and fear of losing any chance to regain control would drive them there. On the night of the dinner, I wore my best dress, one that radiated power and control, and prepared for the show. When my parents, David, and Zoe arrived, their faces were tense, full of expectation. Zoe looked particularly nervous, which only made me smile inwardly. They sat down, and I began to speak calmly. "I've thought a lot about everything that's happened between us, and I've come to the conclusion that maybe you're right, maybe I overreacted a little." I saw relief flash across their faces, especially Zoe's, who immediately tried to seize the opportunity.
See?
"I knew you'd understand, Kathy. We're family, and we shouldn't be fighting like this. I always knew you knew what was right." I nearly laughed out loud but held it in. I looked directly into Zoe's eyes and, with a cold smile, slid an envelope across the table. "Before you continue, you might want to take a look at this." She hesitated but grabbed the envelope. As she opened it and flipped through the photos and documents of her affairs and embezzlement, panic spread across her face. David, noticing her reaction, snatched the photos and stared at them in shock. "What is this, Zoe?" Zoe tried to stammer out an explanation, but I cut her off, savoring every second. "That, David, is the real Zoe. Your perfect wife, the mother of your second child, cheating on you with multiple men and stealing money from you. And before you even think about confronting her, know that I've already sent copies of everything to your boss and all your friends." David turned pale, his hands trembling as he dropped the photos onto the table. "Zoe, desperate, began crying and pleading, but no one was listening anymore. I looked at my parents and finished. And as for you two, soon, you'll be receiving a court order to vacate my houses. Enjoy your last days there. I stood up, tossed the bill onto the table, and as I walked away, their panicked, desperate voices echoed through the restaurant. After my victory in court and the recovery of the two houses, I realized there was still more to be done. Winning 100 million in the lottery had given me more than just comfort. It had given me power and, above all, options. I decided that merely reclaiming what was mine wasn't enough. Now was the time to plan my next move. And nothing seemed more rewarding than investing in real estate. After all, in the city where I had lived for so long, there was a growing demand for quality properties, and I had more than enough money to seize that opportunity. I reached out to a reputable real estate agency in the area and began acquiring properties little by little, discreetly, without raising suspicion. My goal was clear: to expand my influence in the local real estate market without anyone knowing I was behind the purchases. I bought houses, apartments, and small commercial buildings, all in prime, strategic locations. Each new investment grew my portfolio, and my presence in the market silently expanded. About 3 months after my parents were forced to vacate the house I had reclaimed, I received news that made me laugh to myself for hours. Apparently, they were facing financial difficulties. With David completely ruined after the scandal with Zoe and unable to help, my parents were forced to look for a new house to rent. Out of all the options in the area, they became interested in a house that was, coincidentally, managed by the real estate agency handling my properties. Unaware of who owned the property, my parents signed the rental agreement with the agency. And without even suspecting it, they moved into one of the houses I had bought with a portion of the 100 million I had won. Fate had taken care of delivering the revenge I didn't even need to fully orchestrate. When I received the notification of the first rent deposit in my account, I couldn't help but flash a wicked smile. My parents, who had kicked me out of my own house and treated me like a burden my entire life, were now paying rent directly to me without even knowing it. The irony of it all was so delicious it felt unreal. They, who always thought they were in control, now depended on me for their very roof. And the best part, they had absolutely no idea. Weeks passed, and I continued receiving their payments on time. My other properties were also generating excellent income, and I felt increasingly satisfied. Life was finally giving me everything I deserved, and my parents didn't even realize how fate had taken care of paying them back. It was a sense of silent justice, one that didn't require me to get my hands dirty. One day, I received a call from the real estate agency. The agent, with a polite tone, informed me that the tenants of one of my houses, the one my parents were living in, wanted to discuss a possible rent reduction, claiming financial difficulties. It was the cherry on top. My parents were struggling and needed help, but this time, I was the one in control. I scheduled a meeting, without revealing who I was, of course. When my parents arrived at the real estate office, I was placed in a private room where I could watch them through the security camera. It was almost surreal to see my parents there, sitting humbly, trying to negotiate. My father, who once had unshakable pride, now sat with his head down. My mother, who had hysterically cried on the phone months ago, now spoke in a pleading tone. "Is it really impossible to lower the rent a little? Could the owner maybe reconsider?" my father asked the agent, visibly embarrassed. I could have easily agreed, let them pay less, but why should I make things easier? They didn't make anything easier for me when I needed them most.
No.
I decided the rent would stay exactly the same. The agent politely conveyed the decision, and upon hearing it, my father looked visibly frustrated. My mother began to cry. Watching that scene, I felt a mix of emotions. Part of me still had that old urge to please, to be seen as a good daughter. But that Kathy was long gone. Now, I was a woman who made cold, practical decisions. And at that moment, the right decision was to let them feel the full weight of the consequences of their actions. I quietly left the room without them seeing me and returned to my mansion. The money would keep flowing into my account every month, and even though they didn't know it, my parents were now trapped in a cycle where I held all the power. They had lost all control over me, and the ultimate irony was that while they thought they were free of me, they were actually living under my roof. I controlled them from a distance, and that brought me a sense of silent justice that no confrontation could ever match. Fate had indeed delivered the revenge for me, and all I had to do was watch.